This is the SAU Report, a program featuring interviews with the faculty, staff, students, and alumni of Southern Arkansas University in Magnolia.
Welcome to this edition of SAU Report. I'm Maki Obata.
And I'm Mwachiro. Today we're talking to Cledis Stuart, the Director of the Multicultural Services here at SAU. Welcome, Cledis.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'll begin with what is the role of the Multicultural Center here at SAU?
Our office is here as an advocate program for minority students or students of color on our campus. We do advocacy programming. We dedicate ourselves to providing knowledge to students here on campus and to faculty and staff as well, and to community also, about students of color, people of color, and to pride people of color of their accomplishments. And we're here as a support network for those students here. We do a number of things, everything from mentoring to advocacy programming to even calling students when they aren't going to class like they should. Mm-hmm. We just kind of stay here and help as a support network for students here on campus.
All right.
Mr. Stuart, since when the Office of Multicultural Center is in operation?
It began in 1995. There's a group on campus now that's 60 plus, which is made up of African Americans who have 60 or more hours here. And they went through a series of meetings. They meet with the administrators, faculty, and staff discussing problems that they may be having on campus. And faculty, staff, and administrators will sit and listen to them and kind of come up with some ideas to kind of help them overcome those problems. Well, during one of those meetings, one of the students asked the question, why isn't there a multicultural service office on campus? And from that, some research was done, and here I am.
Ever since you've been at the Multicultural Office, have the goals been set or have been achieved by the office since 1995?
Well, one of the main focal points was to increase retention and graduation among African American students. There was a major deficit in the early 90s of the African American male initially. The graduation rate was very low, which which prompted the 60 plus meetings. Dr. Gamble, who is our president here, was concerned about it, and he gathered these young men together and asked, look, what's going on with you? What can we do to help you graduate? What can we do to help you stay in school? And from that, of course, Multicultural Services was established, and through that, retention and graduation of African American students was one of the main focal points. And one of the ways to do that, to promote that, was to provide the advocacy programming to have a closer contact with that student, to see what the problems were and try to address them initially before, or try to address them more quickly. And those goals have been reached. The retention has increased, the graduation rate has increased. So we are making strides. We still have a long way to go, but we are making strides.
What is your background?
Well, I graduated from Grambling State University with a degree in marketing and emphasis in sales, and I did that for a while, and was at Ouachita Baptist in another capacity, and from there found out about this position, sent resume in for it, and once again, here I am.
All right. I've noticed for like the past 1.5 years that I've been here that color plays a very important role here at SAU. Yet in other areas it's not noticeable. Why is that?
Well, here in the South, this is known as the Bible Belt. Racial divisions have existed in the South and pretty much in America, but it's more prevalent in the South. And it has been not only beyond cultures, but even within cultures. You have color barriers within your culture, and it's been somewhat of a problem. However, we try in Multicultural Services, we try to bridge those gaps by providing opportunities for students to come together and to discuss the differences and make diversity something that is a positive thing, because a lot of us look at diversity as something that's not always positive. If you don't do it the way I do it, well then, I don't want to have anything to do with you. Well, we try to change that mindset, and we start on the freshman level. All of our freshmen that come through go through what's known as Mwachiro Roundup, which is an orientation program through the Office of Student Activities. Through that, diversity is one of the issues that's addressed, and all of the students go through that, and that's where if they haven't heard anything about it before then, they start at that point as freshmen, and we continue on throughout their college careers, trying to give them some more information on the positiveness of diversity, and trying to counteract that racial divide that we have that exists here.
Does the Multicultural Center primarily concern itself with only the African American community, or with anybody regardless of where they're from?
Our target demographic is the African American student. However, our services are provided for all students on campus, whether they're of color or not. We provide services for all students. We target the African American student here on this campus because that was where the deficit was. There was a concern within that group that the retention rate and the graduation rate was not quite as high as it should have been, and that's why the office was established. However, we also do things for students. Any student that comes in that's in need, we do as much as we can to help them out.
The awareness of the African continent by the African American community here in the States or here at SAU is at an all-time low. Maybe not only Africa alone, maybe Asia. Is the Multicultural Office doing anything about it?
Well, yes, we do. We do programming during Black History Month, which is February. The focus of the African continent, African history, how it has affected African American history. We focus on that, and we have a lot of educational programming and a lot of activities to provide opportunities for students to learn more about the African culture. That's during February. We also do things throughout the year that will also give them opportunities to do that. We have literature available here on campus. We have a class, African and African American history, that's provided for students on campus to learn more about the continent. And then through the issue of diversity, we try to make students aware that there is more than just what exists in your immediate environment. We encourage our students here to step outside of your familiar, try to learn more about what you're not, so you can be more marketable in the world, but not only more marketable, but more appreciative and more aware of the positiveness of diversity and how you can make it work for you.
You mentioned about the event upcoming later. What is the other events that the Multicultural Office have in store?
Okay. One of the main things that we have coming up is Multicultural Senior Student Day. And it's scheduled for November the 8th, which is on a Monday. And what we do is invite students. This is the first time that we've done this here on campus, and we're hoping for some good turnout. But what we do is we're planning to invite students of color to the campus, and we will provide somewhat of an orientation to them for college. We will have financial aid information. We will have information about the different majors, student organizations. The Genesis Choir, which is an organization on campus, a ministry organization here on campus, will perform. Dr. Gamble will address them. The student that we're looking for is that student that has taken the ACT, made a 16 or above on the ACT, has demonstrated academic proficiency, that you're able to go to college and succeed, be a success in college. Well, most of the students of color, or most of people of color here, don't have that advantage that their white counterparts do in knowing more about the college experience. And this is just something to give them a little head start, to help them learn more about what college is all about, what to expect, know that there are some avenues that you can take in order to finance your college education. It doesn't have to always come out of your pocket, because they may qualify for some things that they need. So this day is set aside to provide those opportunities and let them know that those opportunities exist, and to encourage them to, that you can go to college, and we will do everything we can to help you, because here at SAU, I'm sure both of you know that we have the personal touch philosophy, and we extend it to our students as well as those prospective students that we would like to have here. Along with that, following that, we also have, you asked about other activities that we have coming up. We have the Kwanzaa, which is an African-American Christmas celebration. And this is also, to kind of go back to the questions you asked earlier about providing knowledge of the African continent. The Kwanzaa is a celebration that started by where we open the African-American culture to all other cultures and show the positives, the accomplishments, the struggles. We talk about this and talk about how these things have made the culture what the culture is today, the African-American culture, the African culture. And that's scheduled for the first day of December here on campus.
How long is it? Just one day, or is it for the whole month?
It'll be one day. We'll have a display throughout the month, and the display will change each week, displaying different aspects of the Kwanzaa holiday. But there'll be a program December the 1st to kind of highlight, and it's going to be somewhat of a talent program as well as an educational and informational program.
Does it also celebrate Christmas in an African-American way, or just?
Yeah, there are 7 principles of Kwanzaa. And each day, or the week of Kwanzaa, each day represents a different principle of Kwanzaa, and those different principles are celebrated in different ways. And this is the educational part of Kwanzaa. Children are heavily involved in that process, and this is something that is not a well-known holiday. And we want to bring awareness to our students here on campus, which is why we decided to go to do that, provide that opportunity for students here to celebrate that.
Okay. It's out of the mix, but for someone like myself, an international student, let's like to know what the good thing of joining a fraternity is, the positive attributes, or are there any negative attributes about it? Because people have asked me, and I say I don't see any good thing about joining it. But would you elaborate, maybe not only myself but to the international students out there?
Okay.
The goodness of.
Okay. Part of my responsibility as director of multicultural services is advising organizations on campus, and those organizations, most of those organizations are Greek letter organizations. Most of the organizations were founded on majority campuses, which a majority campus is a campus where the majority culture is in majority. They were founded in the early 1900s so that black students who attended schools that were not all black schools could see each other more often. And they were developed to be a positive organization for community involvement, to promote community involvement, and to become more involved in the community. The positive aspects of it is that all of them have philosophies to go into the community and be very helpful to inform people within the community of the issues that they need to be abreast of, to provide services to people who may not be as fortunate as others, to basically just go there and be supportive in whatever the need may be in the community as well as on campus. There are a lot of negative connotations to fraternities and sororities because the first thing that most people think about is partying and drinking and hazing and those types of things. Well, that's not what they're all about. That may be that's part of the college life period for a lot of students, but that's not what the fraternal and sorority organizations are all about. Their main thing is community involvement, getting involved in the community, doing positive things to promote their organizations and to encourage others to get involved, whether members of the organizations or not, but to kind of take on the leadership role of students here on the campus. And I encourage all students who have no knowledge of the organizations to do your research and find out more about the individual. Now, each one of them have their own styles of doing the community service, but they all pretty much have the same focus of community service.
Are the activities mainly aimed for African-American community?
No. All the activities that we provide on campus are open to all students. All organizations that are on campus are open to all students. None of the programs that we do, none of the organizations that we advise and sponsor are exclusive. They're inclusive, and that's because we promote diversity. And that's the beautiful thing about diversity. Instead of being exclusive, you know, we need to be inclusive because the world is becoming a lot smaller place now. We're becoming known as a global community. And we want to encourage our students to be a part of this global community. And in order to do that, the programs that we provide, the organizations that we advise, we encourage our students to become a part of it, to learn more about cultures that are not like yours, so that you can be more marketable, so that you can be you know, more prepared for the new millennium, which is, like I said, the global community.
Speaking of the global community, there has been a recent outcry by the minorities that they don't get a fair representation on TV. What do you think about that? Is it a justified outcry, or is it just been blown out of proportion?
Well, I don't watch much television. I will admit that my schedule won't allow me to really watch much television. But I do know that there is very little there are very little people of color that are in entertainment. Very rare that you find that. And yeah, I do feel that it is justified because if it's not athletics, it's pretty much, you don't find many people of color in the television shows and the media. The perspective there is not always taken into consideration. I feel like it's gotten better, but I feel like there's a long way to go where the media is concerned. So yeah, I do feel that it is warranted to be an outcry.
On that trend, you know, sometimes, you know, we find people watching, like the black people watching the white shows, but yet the white people refuse to watch the black shows, or they don't watch it as much. It can also be brought down to the school level, like here in college. What can be done about that, you know, to further that integration between the black and the white and Hispanics and all that?
Well, we encourage students to become more diverse, to learn more about other cultures. I encourage all students to take a foreign language to learn more about a culture, to learn more about international students. I teach a freshman seminar class here on campus, and one of the things that I encourage all of my students is to learn or to meet an international student, because most of our international students are walking books themselves. You can read about the continents, you can read about the countries, but to actually talk to someone from those places is a much better experience. I mean, it's more personal, and you get a first-hand experience or a first-hand knowledge of what it's like to live in different cultures. And we encourage our students to become a part of that process. And it starts, like I said, on that freshman level, and we try to reinforce that through them we provide, I know within the sociology department, those sociology and social work majors are, it may not be a requirement, but I'm thinking it was not a requirement, but I'm thinking it may be a requirement now for them to take what's known as cultural diversity, which is a class that basically talks about the different cultures, and it talks about diversity and the positiveness of diversity, and that all of us should be, in order to be prepared for the new millennium or prepared for what's happening in the world, you need to be aware of what's going on outside of your environment, what's going on in other cultures, what's going on with people that you may not be a part of. So to encourage that or to promote that programming, I know the International Student Organization does a banquet every year in which you display different aspects of the different cultures that are involved in the International Student Association. And I think that's a wonderful thing, to invite more students that are not a part of the International Student Organization or that are not from the countries that you're from, to invite them to that, to witness that is a wonderful thing. That's one step there that we can do. But I pose a question to you: what can we do to promote that? What are some of your ideas as students?
Well, for me, I think integration between students, it's not that great, but because you find, like in the cafeteria, you find one section sitting here, one section sitting here, then one section sitting down there. having programs that where they can interact more often, you know, talk to one another, and then that way, I don't know how that's going to be done, but you know, that way, because I talk to some people and they're like, you know, they didn't know this about my country, or they know this about what we do, and they're like, you know, so amazed and all that, you know. We find it, you know, we want to feel accepted at the same time, and we also want to teach them about where we come from at the same time.
2 points with that.
Yeah.
A lot of times, racism or prejudice may be perceived, or choice rather, may be perceived as prejudice or racism. You talked about the cafeteria being separate. And we talked about earlier when we bring our freshman students in, we encourage them to step outside of their familiars, to learn more about things that they aren't used to, aren't accustomed to. Well, that's a challenge to a lot of people. That's a challenge to most people, to step outside of your familiar. We all want to stay within our comfort zones because it's easier. That's what we know best. When you go into the cafeteria, your comfort zone is the people that you're used to interacting with. That's where you're going to go first. It's not necessarily always an issue of racism or prejudice. It's just what most people prefer. You know, I'm black, I want to sit with a black student. Or I'm Japanese, I want to sit with the Japanese students because I feel more comfortable there. Now, to step outside of your familiar is the challenge. That's where diversity, the appreciation for diversity begins. You have to step outside of your familiar in order to gain that different perspective of the different culture. That has to be done. There are a lot of programs that are provided for students to interact. Just everything that's provided on campus is provided for students to interact. But the apathy, the student, to take that opportunity is up to the student. We can, I guess it's like the old adage say, you can lead the horse to the water, but you can't force him to drink. Yeah. Well, we lead the horse to the water, but whether he drinks or not is up to the horse. So again, I challenge the student to take advantage of these opportunities that are available here on campus to interact, because everyone is invited and included in every activity that's scheduled here on campus. But whether the student takes that opportunity, takes advantage of that opportunity, is up to the student.
Is there a possibility of the merging of ISA and the Multicultural Center, a combined operation?
I would love to see that. I would love to see the International Student Organization and the Multicultural Services Office work closer together. We have done banquets, we have done activities together, and we do a lot of well, maybe not as much as we should. Maybe not as much as we should. We do some interaction together. And I would love to see it be all one. But again, everything that's provided through our office and through, you know, every other activity that's scheduled on campus is open to all students. It's open to all students. And we encourage all students to take advantage of it. So, yeah, I would love to see that happen. The ISA and Multicultural Services work more closely together. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly. On a more relaxed level, do you plan to visit Africa anytime soon?
Would love to.
Where?
Would love to. I have an international student that's a student worker of mine, and she constantly tells me of the things that she experiences in her home, and it's something that I've always wanted to do. And in the future, yeah, I would like to make that a goal of being able to visit the African continent, not only the African continent, but just places in general that are not America. Stepping outside the familiar. I have had an opportunity to visit Japan. Was very impressed with it. As a college student, I had a chance to visit Japan, and I was very impressed. And it was a wonderful experience, and to see other cultures and other countries is always an education within itself. So, yeah, I would love to do that.
All right. Mr. Stuart, we appreciate your time over here. I'm Mark Mwachiro.
I'm Maki Obata.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you for watching.
The SAU Report is a production of broadcast journalism students in the Department of Theater and Mass Communication at Southern Arkansas University in Magnolia.